This is Reverend Harris here at the memorial, homeless memorial event today, and we have Dr. Sandoval, who is a longtime friend of mine, father figure, uncle figure, grandfather figure, all the positive figures you could think that a man should have, and just an honor to work with him in the community, and he's been a strong supporter of National Network in Action here in Fresno. Was one of the decision makers and supporters of me financially to go over to Benton Harbor, Michigan, to be with Reverend Pinckney over there in the struggle against Whirlpool. And so, Doctor, good evening. How you doing today?
Very well, very well.
Good, good. So, tell us why you're here today.
I'm here to support the homeless memorial in Fresno. I think what goes on in Fresno is really important for people in Merced and all over the country, really.
Great, great, great. And so, you know, Fresno, we've our politicians here in this city has spent more money to destroy the less fortunate, to destroy their homes, what they have. The only thing left. Pictures, could be dentures, could be just personal items, things. Do you have the city of Merced have ever experienced this type of brutal treatment to homeless people?
It certainly has. There was an eviction of large homeless encampment and then an enforcement of a no camping ordinance about 1.5 years ago in Merced. So what's happened in Fresno before is setting a pattern for what happens in other places like Merced, for example. Merced is a little further down the road from what happens in Fresno. Here it's been worse, but Fresno people have been lied to, like with the 10-year plan that's being proposed right now in Merced, and a lot of people still kind of think that that's going to be a solution. But in Fresno, it's been shown to absolutely not work. We had a homeless forum at UC Merced, and people from Sacramento, San Jose, and other places testified about how the 10-year plans don't work.
Wow, wow. So who puts these plans together? Is it the community? Is it the who puts all this data together to say this is what's best for the community?
Well, this comes out of efforts at the national level. There was a homeless czar that is making a lot of money really as a consultant going around the country, and he's getting people to buy into the idea of 10-year plans, like you can solve it through asking for grants from the government. But this is really ridiculous when you consider the fact that, if anything, they're cutting back on programs. So for people to stake their hopes on what happens in 10 years is wrong.
Wow, wow, wow. So I was reading an article, I believe it was in Madera, where I believe a young man had showed me about a homeless person had went inside the Board of Supervisors to talk about, you know, the conditions of what, you know, they have to deal with. And he was standing in a little cubby hole, you know, right behind the Board of Supervisors office, and wasn't bothering nobody. And they went in there and evicted him and wanted to arrest him. And he went to the Board of Supervisors just trying to, you know, to say, hey, you know, I have nowhere to go. And every time you turn around, you hear, there's no money, there's no money. But yet you see all this freeway construction going on. There's no money. Then you see all these buildings going up at Fresno State. There's no money. Tuition is going up for the students here in California. Professors are being laid off here in California. They forcing a good friend of mine, Doc.He Kennedy, who has a radio show, Doc.He Kennedy, 88.1, Keeping It Real. She has to move to Atlanta, Georgia now because she can't. She's a professor. Now, she's a professor, someone who has went to school, someone who has an education, someone who has spent money for loans and what have you to get in there, and she's a doctor, and she can't get a job in California. What does that say for those folk like me who's on the ground, who don't have an education, who may have a 12th grade education, but yet I want to go to school, but the tuition is so high. And now Fresno State said, well, we're not going to accept no one else. Can you just elaborate on that real quick for our camera.
Okay. Well, real quickly, we're dealing with really a fabricated crisis. There's more than enough resources to go around. The problem is they're not being used for meeting people's needs. We have empty apartments just in California. We have housing that's being bulldozed, and meanwhile there's people out on the streets. And there's tons of young people that want to be healthcare providers. They want to serve the community, and they can't get into training programs because they have quotas and they want to strictly limit how many people get in. There's young people that come out with huge debts. I mean, like a young doctor with a $150,000 debt is not uncommon. And many of these, what happens is they end up trying to make money just to pay back their